Hello and welcome to the Lore Breakdown, where we talk about past, present, and future Dunn SMP lore. I'm Atlas, and I'm joined by my co-host Andrew.
This podcast is meant to be watched after this month's Condensed Lore video, which can be found on the Dunn3 SMP YouTube channel today.
Today we have Luke, aka Dunn3, and Keevan, aka Strange Kevin, on as our guests.
Yippee!
Howdy.
Our founder.
Our
I've always
founder.
wanted to do a podcast.
Haven't you been on a podcast?
It's not important. A good podcast, how's that?
Thank you. Well, we'll find out if it is a good podcast or not.
Hey guys, welcome back to the D&E podcast.
No.
No,
we
you
don't
can't
do that.
hijack this.
That's not canon. It's not canon.
You're not allowed to hijack this.
The set's on the server.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What we talking about? What we talking about?
Well,
We are breaking down the first video that came out for the anniversary of a condensed lore version of the original. I think there's 4 VODs in the first video. So we get to see the Woodland Mansion raid. We get to see Resistance. Was there 3 or was there 4?
there was 4.
I just watched it.
There was 4.
What's the third one?
It's we get to see the Great Oak.
The Great Oak, and then the Shovel and the Scythe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 4 streams we'll be talking about today, which are included in the, the condensed lore video that just came out. So,
Well, before we get into that, there is lore that predates the Woodland Mansion,
yeah.
which isn't included because they're just a little kind of rough, like too rough around the edges.
Yeah, it's
And,
hard to hear you, Luke. It's hard to hear you.
There
I have
wasn't
an
much I
excuse
could
for that.
salvage. Yes, Luke,
Which is the fact
tell
that
us
it
all
was
about
okay. It was like my first ever streams.
No.
I hadn't gotten
Mhm.
everything figured out yet. I hadn't really
Yeah.
got it, as if I even have anything figured out now. I didn't know how to do audio or anything yet. I kind of just turned on a microphone and I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Which even goes into the whole fact of like why I even started the SMP in the first place, which was all about I needed friends. I needed friends and I needed content to make because I wanted to start streaming. And so that's why I was like, okay, these SMP things, they're popular. I'm gonna do one of these. And then obviously, as you see in the lore video, I'm like, oh, it would be cool if we did, it'd be cool if we did lore or something, And then yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah,
On the
Right.
23rd of December, 2020. That's what it was.
Oh, he
Oh.
has the date and everything.
Never forget.
very important.
Humble
thing.
beginnings.
Yes, well, there's lore that happens before, which was a tester for you guys to start doing lore, wasn't it? The
Mhm.
Jorge plot. Would you like to
The Jorge
discuss or explain to the viewers what that was, since it's not included in the video?
It's weird with Jorge because it was canon, but not really touched on really ever
Mhm.
again after that.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't like a huge huge big thing, unless you're the people who were involved in it, in which case, yes, it was the biggest thing in the world, and how dare this plot happen? Yeah, like how would you even describe like what happened with Jorge? Because it was just
I
goofy
remember
around,
I
really.
remember exactly how it was because I fucking half wrote it. Kind of. It was the idea was essentially we were trying to come up with our first ever script, our first ever scripted stream, and we ended up just writing a one-off. And the idea was that I'm pretty sure it was based on something that had actually happened. It's because Six at the time
Yeah.
was keeping villagers, specifically one villager that he would do trades with that he named Jorge. And one day, Jorge went missing. In retrospect, most likely a zombie got in and killed him. But
Right.
that's besides the point. That inspired us to do our first stream where it was the Jorge plot. Jorge went missing. What happened to Jorge? And the story ended up going that Chris and Ethan kidnapped him.
And
And
we're holding him for ransom.
yeah, we're holding him for ransom. And essentially, what ended up happening, spoilers, what ends up happening is that Chris kills Jorge, and I still think it's so funny the way we worded this is since Jorge was considered Six's property,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that meant that it was technically griefing,
Everything, which is against server rules.
and that's how
right.
that whole plot line started.
Right.
So Chris had to pay for his crime against Six, not against Jorge, but against Six. And
Right.
Ethan
Yeah.
Ethan disappeared into the tunnels under the courthouse because he figured sooner or
Ah.
later he was going to be taken to court for something stupid. So he built an escape hatch into the courthouse as Byrne was building it. He was building his escape hatch.
Right. Okay, so
And-
that's how Chris lost his first canon life then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that it resulted in him losing a canon life before the real meat
Lore
of the lore
started.
even started.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, see, back then
So
we hadn't even really figured out story arcs yet. It was kind of we were kind of testing the waters, doing our first ever scripted stream, and at that point we planned as far as the Jorge plot, and that was it. We hadn't planned
Mm.
anything ahead of that. After we had done that, that's when I said, okay, well, let's try come up with a story arc. And then I came up with the idea of we can actually talk about it now since it's all happened. I came up with the idea of I liked the meta idea of it is a video game mechanics will play a part in the story. And so then it started with I was like, okay, well, what if a bunch of super powerful tools ended up in the world and how would the characters interact with that? And that then we were like, okay, well, we can make a full series of streams out of that, and that could be the first story arc. And then so the ideas that I then had were super powerful tools, command blocks, and the operator status. That was the three things that we were able to then make full on story arcs out of.
Well, hold on. So you had those three from the beginning, or
Yeah,
like just the general
Really?
ideas from the very
Yeah.
beginning?
From the very beginning.
Wow.
it was part
Jesus
of
Christ.
like Luke's pitch to us as players of being like, okay, this is how this is what I want to do for the first story. What if
Mm.
then we do this one for the second one, and in the end we'll do this one? You know,
Okay.
so it was
you
In
know,
terms of,
we'll do
like-
this one and then
we
this
had
one.
questions about how far ahead
Yeah.
you were planned, like stuff
Years.
was planned,
Mhm.
and we were like, oh, there's no way they had this planned and this planned. But
Oh yeah,
you're saying that we are still in the original
Luke's
plan.
original.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
The thing is,
Jesus.
like we didn't have all the
Jesus.
detail. We didn't have all the details of it
No.
planned out.
Yeah, no, of course. And obviously, like new people coming in and it
Yeah.
evolves
Yeah.
over. But the fact that you had 3 arcs written and they are what has happened, and we're
Yeah.
in the third one now
Yeah.
is
It
crazy.
Wow.
was
Being
the
stupid,
idea
but he
the
had a
idea
lot
of a
of foresight.
trilogy. The idea of a trilogy based around super powerful tools,
Mm-hmm.
command blocks, and operator status. That was
Mhm.
from the beginning.
And then after that, we'll figure out what we want to do for like chapter 4 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's touching on one of my questions was what inspired the mysterious tools? If there was any.
In terms of the mysterious tools, they were essentially they started as a MacGuffin that we could have in the story. That was the idea. But
What?
a MacGuffin?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
It's a film term which basically just means like an interchangeable like plot relating item, like the Infinity Stones or the one ring from Lord of the Rings. You know, it's an
Okay.
interchangeable plot device.
Yeah.
And so that the story will evolve around. So the mysterious tools were kind of just like the insert MacGuffin for the story. Now, in terms of inspiration, I can give one inspiration that we had, which was for the owners of the tools being the original builders,
Mm-hmm.
because that actually does have a funny story about how that was inspired. Um,
Oh god.
basically, in the early days of the server, I happened to I can't remember who it was. I think it was
Me.
me or someone else. It was you.
Yeah, it
You
was
were
me.
online on the server
was
by
on.
yourself.
Yep.
and all of a sudden, some random person joined the server. And we were
What?
so confused
We
because
weren't whitelisted or anything because we didn't have a white or blacklist at that stage.
yeah, we
think we
didn't
just
have a
joined.
whitelist at the time. We just never shared the IP.
Mm-mm.
Right.
And so we were
They
so
were
confused as to
fighting
how some random person got the IP address. And so me being me, the moment Kevin messaged me saying, "Who the hell is this guy?" Because this guy I then joined, went in spectator mode and started just watching who this person is. What's he doing? And he was just off just playing survival Minecraft
was
stuff. He just started doing his own
breaking.
thing.
He was breaking and stealing stuff. He was griefing
Oh.
on our
He-
non-griefing server.
He was grieving, but not like he was malicious. Like he seemed to just then he just started mining. He was kind of just doing his own thing, as if it was like a random survival server he just joined.
Oh.
And so we were messaging in chat saying, "Who are you?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm friends with the owner." And I said, buddy, I am the owner. What do you mean?" And he basically just started, "No, I know who the owner." And he was like so adamant that he knew who the owner was. At which point I'm pretty sure one or two other people also joined.
Yeah, there was like 4 of them there.
Also at different times, but all claiming the same thing. At which point I did a bit of digging in the behind the scenes of the server, and I traced their IPs back all to the same city in, I think it was
Oh.
Denmark.
Oh.
And essentially the theory we came up with was that these guys all must have been part of a friend group who used to own a server with Apex Hosting, which is who we use for the server.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably when their friend, the original owner, shut down the server, Apex recycles their IPs, which makes sense.
After a certain
Yeah.
time.
Right.
So essentially all these guys were claiming, "Oh no, they all just saw their friend who had started a server ages ago brought it back up because they saw the IP they added to their Minecraft multiplayer has come back
Right.
online."
Oh no.
And that inspired us the idea of we weren't the
Oh
first
my
people
god,
here.
there was
Oh
people
my
here
God.
before us. We can work with this.
That's
And so
actually
they came
so
up with the idea
cool.
of the original builders, who were these people, the operators that came before us.
I think Luke sat
Jeez.
down in a call with like 3 of us and it was hashed out in a night. Like it was just like, okay, so we have this and we have this, and okay, so what if we do this then? And after like a night and maybe a morning of no sleep and just fevered, oh, this could work. The original builders
We're born.
That's
yeah,
correct. I didn't know that.
I didn't know this
I
either.
didn't know any.
Wow. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's an exclusive. A hot scoop. for
That
the
is a hot
podcast.
scoop.
Funny
we
thing,
did
right?
try and like find them then whenever we played like Bed Wars and shit. It was like, oh, I wonder if one of these guys are.
Oh.
I wonder if we'll run into them again, you know, in a lifetime. I wonder if we'll find them.
God. That must have been
That's
so
crazy.
weird just to have strangers
It-
on the server like that.
It was scary. It
Hmm.
was I was terrified.
It was that
I
day
was
when we introduced the whitelist.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
well, yeah,
I would
that makes
assume so.
sense.
I would assume so.
Damn.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that as we said, we like knuckled down for an evening and we figured out
Spot
the
this
story of who the original builders are, which I
Mhm.
only realized recently we still haven't actually had in a stream. The actual
Yeah.
story we've
Mm.
talked about, oh yeah, they were the original operators that came before us.
I was like, we don't know who
But-
they are, to be fair.
In terms of who they are, what happened to them, where are they gone, we all planned that out, and that's never been shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
without
of
spoiling
the,
anything, I'm going to say it has now been put into a script, and it will be revealed
It
before
will
the end of
be.
the arc.
Yeah. It will come back soon. So
Right.
here's
Yeah.
an exclusive. You know, you get to kind of
heads up.
see it. You get to look behind the curtain before it plays into the story.
Yep.
Mm.
Something that's been in the works for years. And
3
it's
years.
finally
3
just
years, yeah.
coming out. God, yeah. Right.
Okay, so we got to talk about
The video.
the video. I was gonna call it an episode because it is technically episode.
Yeah,
one.
it's
It
an
is
episode.
Um,
Yeah.
It's pilot.
Okay, so the first one was the Woodland Mansion raid.
Oh.
How long did it take you guys to leave the plaza
Because Jesus,
and get there? Because
it
Uh,
in the
I
video.
think it
it
was
was a
like-
long time.
it is
I think-
like midday, and then by the time you guys are actually leaving, it's like the dead of night.
Again.
Was it like 40 minutes it took before we actually got to the Woodland
Something
Mansion
like
after we
Oh,
that,
started?
because
goodness.
it really needs to be said that before that stream happened, some people still didn't quite grasp the idea that it was a lore stream, that you were going to
Ah.
be in character for like a little bit.
Mm.
Like you can act like yourself, but keep in mind that you're playing a character.
Hmm.
And because some people didn't know that, they thought it was just going to be like a normal thing. So they didn't have things like, you know, potions to bring themselves back, or extra food, or weapons, or even decent armor, because they didn't want to take their netherite. They only wanted to go in their iron or their diamond because they didn't want to lose it. There was no concept of, oh yeah, this has been thought out, this has been planned. Like, I to this day will still say I did not know there was a script for that stream.
There was a script, right?
There was, and I to this day, I hand on heart, did not know that there was a script. It was
right.
such a Jorge was the first one, but this is the first one where we actually have to pull ourselves together. And like, if you're like me and you didn't play Minecraft, you'd never even seen a woodland mansion before and had no idea
Mhm.
what to expect. So that sort of played into no one wanting to leave the plaza. But it did take a long time. We got there in the end.
Yeah. Oh god.
Did we
So-
go along the nether roof as well?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
we did,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yeah.
At least we didn't go in the overworlds.
Yeah.
That mansion is like
Oh
hun-
god.
hundreds of
so
thousands of
far.
blocks away. That's so far
Mhm.
away. When you say a script,
Mm.
to what extent of a script?
Yeah.
Because the stream's already happened and they've already seen the condensed lore
Yeah.
version and stuff. You could read out the script word for word. Like, what, if you can remember,
Or if you
what
have the
was there? Like,
document.
obviously
We used to
Leon
have it.
dies.
We do
Leon
somewhere.
dies, right?
I know exactly
That
where
was
it is.
planned.
That wasn't planned.
No,
Nope.
like when I say this was early days, like it was okay. This needs to happen. This needs to happen, and this needs to happen. The only thing that was down on that thing was we need to get there all alive. We need to place a bed and sleep in said bed, and Luke needs to win. And then
He needs to
we
get the
still can
sword.
go home. There was no plan for how we're going to get back through the nether, because as it said in the video, lots of people got left behind in the nether because the portals didn't link up to the roof. So a
Yeah.
lot of us had to make our way
Oh.
back through the nether. There was no plan for that. There was no sort of getting around that. Oopsie daisy.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure the only thing on the list or on the script was like I said,
Luke gets the
get
sword.
there, put down bed, Luke gets the sword. Everything else, yeah, good luck. Just improvise. This is good practice.
Still
Which
to
is
this
fine
day,
for a
like,
first stream.
still to this day, 90% of our scripts do not have any dialogue planned in it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
They're
No, it's-
all because
yeah.
no, I've gone by the idea that none of us are professional actors. None of us are going to remember scripts of lines. That's not going to happen.
Mhm.
So, especially myself, I know for a fact I could not remember scripts of lines. But if we have a bullet point list of this happens, then this happens, then this leads into this, and then this happens, and this happens, and then this person talk about this,
Mhm.
where this is mentioned, like that is something where people can follow along and do, and that's how our scripts are laid out.
Yeah. Definitely.
Obviously, some scripts are written by other people. The scripts are typically written by whoever is directing the stream, which is typically
Mhm.
the streamer, not always, but typically the streamer.
Mhm.
And everyone's scripts are different, but that is the general way of how they're always laid out.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to Leon dying, in the cell, he could have decided at the end of stream, no, that doesn't count as a canon life. But he felt that it was more organic and it fit well
Definitely.
as a sort of start to this catalyst of a story, to have that be his first canon life. So we stuck with it. So even when things aren't planned and they're not scripted, they can become part of the script thereafter.
Mhm.
It's editable.
improv used to be
Yeah.
our biggest thing back then. I always said no one ever had to be available for something. If someone ever became unavailable, we just keep going with it and we improv script around it. The amount of streams we had where just a random character isn't there and we just say, oh, they're off doing blank. And it was just because they couldn't make it on the day.
Right. Okay. Speaking on how you have everything planned out so far in advance, while you got into this room where the sword was, you mutter sort of under your breath, but it was there, and you're mining into the meteorite saying, oh, this is like the one at Choice, in reference to Burn. So Burn had the mysterious pickaxe, as we find out, but it shows that you had that planned out so far in advance.
So I can actually go into detail exactly as to what that was. That is because the first ever meteorite with the tools in it that we built was the pickaxe at Burns. And I'm pretty sure it was because he just built a random meteorite there. If I remember. He just built one just for fun. And I took that, I was like,
wanted like this thing to be in his base.
yeah,
Right.
it was just a random thing that he built, was a random crater with a meteorite in it. And I was like,
Took a sign on it to say,
I like the look of that. And so we took it as, okay, well, that's the pickaxe is. And it was going to be landed in Burns' compound that is still there up the north, up in the snowy area. Obviously, I can't remember, have we retconned that, or is that just
It is retconned.
It's
Yeah,
it's
because
That's
retconned now,
completely retconned.
I couldn't remember, was it retconned or did we write in that as part of it? No, it was retconned, yeah.
It was completely redone, but we did have the bones there for it, and I think we built the meteorite there for it as well. It was just a case that, hey, we're waiting for you to finish your base so we can do
That
this.
base was
And
never
then when it
finished.
came around to that particular screen or a stream, it was never finished, and it's still not finished. So
That
See,
was one of my
we were
if that
gonna,
base had been finished,
we
then
were,
that story would have gone very different.
yeah, we were gonna ask that, like, every tool had a trial before it, except the pickaxe, because, well, first it was just made in Burns' place, but then it gets retconned to just being in the village that Atlas's character lives in. So was there a reason? But it was just that it was never built.
It was just never built, yeah. We hadn't thought of it back then.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Originally, yeah, the pickaxe was just going to be another tool that is mentioned that Burn, because I believe it's during the Resistance is Formed stream where Burn, essentially after we have the
Shows up
sword, Burn
happening.
mentions that he has a mysterious pickaxe, or that he found a mysterious pickaxe, and
We'll be getting to
that's
that.
that's what tees up the whole idea of, oh, there's other mysterious tools, and that everyone needs to go out and find them.
Yeah.
And that's we had that, to have that thing where someone had already known about another tool, so it everyone actually knows to start going for the others.
Right. Okay.
Now, there's one here that we have written, and then it'll lead immediately into the next video that's in it,
Very
right?
good.
Of the resistance, right? So when you get the sword, there's a point where you're stood behind Chris and contemplating killing him.
You have the biggest grin on your face.
You are like, you can read your thoughts. You're like, I'm gonna slit his throat.
I'm gonna do it.
But then the beginning of the very next, I'll say VOD because it's all one. It's one video with 4 VODs in it, right? At the beginning of the next VOD, he comes and tells you that the resistance is having a meeting.
So he just had absolutely no idea that you were about to kill him in the middle of the mansion.
But did you plan to, like, do that, or was that just something that happened in the moment and you're like,
back then we hadn't scripted who's going to die where, because we realized we can't really predict that. At the time we hadn't scripted it. The only scripted death we'd done at that point was Chris's execution back in the Jorge plot. And I remember because people would say, "Oh, it's the sword's corruption," and my character would respond with, "It's not corruption. It's just the sword. It's just me." And
Mhm.
I say that because again, it's the meta commentary of I had a really powerful sword and I wanted to kill people with it. It was like, oh, I could kill Leon now. Oh, I could kill Chris right now. Oh, that would be so fun. And it was genuinely just
I'd be
me
so angry if I do
having
that.
fun. It was just me getting carried away with this
Yeah.
super powerful sword, and that was the fun in it.
Well, I'm to be honest just skipping through here because there's something that happens in the Great Oak
Mhm.
that
Hmm.
when you show up and you're kind of like talking to everybody, you you can tell that you just want to kind of clear a spot in your hotbar so that you can have your hand out and you're not holding anything, but you move the sword into your inventory and it
Hmm.
just gives off like that your character's so cocky and confident that you're like, I don't need the sword at the ready. That
Mm.
even if they attack me, I'm gonna be able to get it out and kill everybody with it. And there's it like I'm sure it was something that you just picked a random spot and you happened to drag the sword, but it feels like a character moment.
I was gonna say
Mhm.
no. I do remember that. I did do that on purpose.
Yeah,
Oh, you
that's
See, I
did?
know it,
fun.
and it's so good.
Ah.
It's
It's
really
so
good.
cool.
I don't think it was ever. I don't actually. Again, I don't think that specific moment was scripted. But
Right.
I remember doing that and thinking that. I remember like, oh yeah, I don't need
Mhm.
this fucking stuff. Because I remember then, even now, because that leads into me fighting with Six, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it does.
And
Yeah,
does.
there was all
you
the
take off
art
your
of like
armor.
me and Six fist fighting, and I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember, that was
And
good.
then he pulls out his axe and fucking chops you down.
Cheeky bugger,
Mhm.
yeah. Pulled out his
Yeah.
Which
axe.
he wasn't expecting. Like that's
Mm.
the
Yeah.
scripted, not scripted. You really weren't expecting to lose a canon life then, Luke. And it's
No.
again only afterwards that you went, oh, I suppose we can canonize it. And it's
Yeah.
like
Aw.
you don't have, you can make the no, I suppose it's only fair, and it was a whole thing.
My first two canon deaths weren't actually in the script.
Same.
Yeah,
Right.
I think what was really interesting was that by episode 2, Chris is already on one life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gone well, obviously one is from the prequel, let's say.
Mhm.
But just immediately like he's
Yeah.
on one life. But then it takes so long for him to fully die.
Yeah, that was planned. So Chris
Hmm.
losing his second life, that one was planned, and he wanted that for his character, and
Oh, okay.
he
Okay.
had an idea because he wanted to sort of like play this character that's not reckless but is aware that it's a game and knows that nothing,
Mhm.
bad
Mm,
will actually happen.
He wasn't
Um
afraid of death.
Exactly.
Right.
But he
yeah,
also wanted to play a character that, would sort of reach that out in order to help someone who maybe not be aware that it's a game or that they will be
right.
okay at the end of it. So
Mhm.
that's just who he wanted to play. So if it was a case that he lost like his 3 canon lives, I think he would have treated it a little bit more like D&D and just made a new character.
Mhm.
Um but yeah.
Right. Right.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
Now,
interesting. Sorry.
yeah. No, go
That
on.
you say that that death was scripted because there was
Mhm.
two other deaths in that stream, which it
Mhm.
was Burns and yourself, Kevin.
Mhm.
Were those two also scripted during that stream?
Burns what Burn was scripted to quote be hurt, and he
Ah.
drops the pick in the action. But I think the Muppet like took fall damage and didn't put on full armor or something. Like he did something right before that happened where he took damage and he didn't
Right.
eat. So
Right.
when he got hit by the sword, he did lose a canon death. And no, mine wasn't planned. I was shaking by like the end of it, going,
Oh.
"Am I going to be kicked out of the server if I lose all 3 lives?"
Oh
Because
no.
I didn't know what a canon life. I thought if you die on stream, that's it. That's a canon life gone.
Ah.
If you
So I
die on
was really
stream, you die
scared.
for real.
Exactly. So I thought it was like, okay, if I take fall damage, if I fly into something, that's another canon life. And it was only after that stream that Luke saw how upset I was and
Oh.
explained what a canon life actually is. And I was like, oh, well, I've made a big deal of it now, so I suppose it has to be canon.
Oh. Oh
Yeah,
no.
I was gonna say the reaction is very raw, or
I was
it feels
very-
like you're really annoyed
Oh.
I
or
was so
upset.
upset.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I was distraught. It genuinely took Luke sitting me down for 20 minutes after stream going, it's okay. You can plan the next one. Just it's okay. You don't have to die again. We can script this. You're not actually dying. It's all right. And I was like, oh, so I can plan the next one. Yes. Okay, because only one had actually been planned at this stage. So
Mhm.
but yeah, it really was a case of, well, I've made a whole melodramatic moment of it. Might as well
Oh.
canonize it.
Um, but then Luke leaves
Mm,
for a bit, and he comes back with invisibility, and
mm,
then he overhears you guys well, first he kills Chris, and then he
mhm.
overhears you guys discussing the tool's locations.
Mhm.
Mm.
Were those sets already built?
No.
Oh, they
Really?
No.
weren't, but they were planned.
No.
No.
I think
Really?
they were planned, weren't they?
No, hold on, because
No.
I pointed out something when we were watching it back that
Yeah.
you it's like somebody says like, oh, the axe would probably be like in a jungle temple, and you went,
Hmm.
I think the hoe would be in a jungle temple. Like it was
Okay.
one of those
Yeah.
like, I
I
think it
think
was
it
planned.
was brainstormed, but we hadn't.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
Right.
sorry.
No
Sorry.
builds had
I
been done yet.
no, I know what happened. The
Oh.
Great Oak one was halfway through being done.
Okay.
And I wanted for the scythe to be in the jungle, so I had to say, I just said it on stream
Right.
accidentally
Ah.
because I was like, I wanted that one.
If it's said on stream, they can't back out of it now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that like the Great Oak was like part way with being done. Like I think it was, just like the bare bones and
Mm,
some of the
Ah.
lights were put in. Definitely
right.
not all the puzzle around it or the actual parkour bit.
And
Okay.
Leon's little camp at the bottom, right?
Hmm.
That he made on the day.
Oh,
Really?
right. Okay.
That he
Yeah.
made while we were waiting in the plaza and waiting to go over. Leon
Right.
built that. I really wish I was joking, but he got to where he was supposed to be and waiting for us,
He
and he
got
just
bored.
went, this is kind of empty. I want to do something with this spot. If I'm supposed to have been here for a few days, well, I might as well jazz the place up. And he just like
In Leon
did this whole
fashion.
thing with the tent and a spit roast fire, like the whole shebang. It was like getting there. Our shock is genuine. It's been like, Leon, what did you do? This wasn't
But
here
yeah,
half
when
an hour
everyone
ago.
when everyone shows up, their first reaction is, "How long have you been here for? What were you
Exactly.
doing?"
It's
And
like
it was real.
we know that it took us 20 minutes to get here. How long have you been here?
Like, yeah, I didn't know that at all, that he only
Mm,
built it on the spot, because it doesn't look like it was just built on the spot. Like
no.
it
Yeah.
God
looks like it was
no.
a part of the set, like
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
planned
funny.
for a while.
The
Viewers, I
voices.
don't think actually know this, but it's the first kind of hint that we get that Leon's going to become the main builder on the server.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giveaway. But I think
Um
his prison in the Nether is what sold it for me after he was killed by the
Oh my
mysterious
god,
sword.
yeah.
And he then
Oh.
yeah.
built himself like Leon as a character, because this was the first death with the mysterious tool, we didn't know how it was going to affect the psyche.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
Leon's character effectively went mad after that happened because it took a piece of him with it. That's what it took a canon life. So when it came to how do you want to set the precedent for how people are going to react after they're killed by a mysterious tool, he just went all out and he built himself that wee little prison to hold himself up in with a giant
Mm.
bee.
Was
Damn
that
right.
ever shown?
It was shown on stream later on. I think there was a
Okay.
later on stream that it was shown in, or it was like alluded to afterwards. But he really did build that like after all the cameras were cut and
Mm.
all that jazz.
Right.
Um,
Alice,
yeah, I
can we
think
get
it might have been
some?
out of lore stream or something.
Can we get some B-roll of the prison for the YouTube audience?
It's up on the screen for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a really nice
It's
build.
a nice build.
It's
So if it hasn't been shown, it should be.
yeah. When you go into the prison, and this is rotten, and I can't believe he did this, but he put down blood splatters on the floor
Oh gosh.
as if he was still, bleeding from the
Yeah.
mysterious sword.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and a, that's me.
I actually that reminds me. I loved the details that were improv from everyone about what happens to you after you're killed with the mysterious sword.
Mhm.
Because as you said there, Leon kind of implied that because of the sharpness of the sword, he kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and it wouldn't stop.
Mhm.
And Everil, later on in the story, when it's revealed that he's had this out for me and that he's been kind of manipulating the resistance from behind the
Situation.
scenes, it's revealed that he says the reason why my face is burned is because of the fire aspect 10 or whatever it was in the sword that he burned for hours.
Right.
Now, there's an unfortunate continuity error with that one. Is that he already had that skin before that fight?
Yes, he did. Now I think of it,
He's
yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
it during the fight. So while I like that explanation, unfortunately, continuity wise, it's
Yeah.
not.
It's
It's
I
not
think he
quite
did-
there.
I think what happened with Everil is that he did something more with the underneath layer of that skin and the
Right.
arms. And that's what he was referring to in that one now, I think.
Okay.
Another thing that I remember Everil saying on a stream once, or maybe it was just on like a call, like a script writing call, is that we threw around the idea that the fire aspect on the sword could be a little bit more like a invisible or like a propane fire where it burns invisible under the human eye.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So even if it wasn't a case that it was, the actual yellow fire, it was this other searing hotness
Mhm.
that
Mm.
was
It's still
getting
burning.
into the skin. Exactly.
It's still going.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, his username is Everil Burns.
True.
that's true.
That's what I said. That's what I said earlier.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I find it very interesting to see how every character who was killed by a mysterious tool reacted. Like how Luke has a permanent scar on his chest. Kevin has a permanent scar on her arm.
From
Yeah.
Everil, yeah.
From
Everil
Everil.
later on, yeah.
Because
Also,
I always canonize that you don't see the one that Luke left because it's somewhere.
I getcha.
It's somewhere.
Also, the color was sapped out of you after
Yeah.
every canon death to a mysterious tool.
Mhm.
Which
Well,
is fun.
I think it just kind of, obviously it was for the tools, right, in the first arc, but it's interesting to see then, like, even going forward, how, like, people kind of continued that idea that you lose a canon life and, like, something changes in
Yeah.
your character.
Even
You
if
lose a
it's
part of
subtle,
yourself,
yeah.
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 Because again, like we didn't have a precedent of okay, how do you react when you lose a canon life? Because still, none of them are scripted up until this point, except for Chris. He plays his character as normal going forward. So I think it was like half of the drama with the you were killed by a mysterious tool. How do you feel about it? And then that just became the norm when treating a canon death.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
The onto the Great Oak. We've kind of touched on a couple of these. There's the fight between Six and Luke, and we had a question asking if it was scripted, but you guys said it wasn't. The cheating.
Yeah,
Him
the
killing
Yeah,
you
him
with
pulling
the
the
axe
axe out was
cheating.
not scripted. No.
was not
And
scripted.
he also didn't know that he had done that until afterwards. Like his his mouse just
Ah.
hovered over his hotbar,
Oh,
and he
right.
accidentally put it in his hand. He didn't even plan
Sure.
for that.
Oh.
So when he reacted afterward, he was like, "Shit, damn it!"
Right.
That
Right.
was real.
I think
So,
Oh.
that moment is one that I really love looking back on,
yeah.
especially when you think of it in the context of our backstories, the context of what it is, where essentially from back in Skyworld, I was this superhero as an operator in training, and
Mhm.
Six was like my sidekick, where he was just a normal guy who was a friend of mine who wanted to help.
Mm.
And that essentially we became brothers in arms. And so when I went to Dunn SMP, he followed me soon after. He came to follow me. And then it grows, and then again, the story develops to this point where essentially us brother in arms are now fighting with our fists. We're fist
Mm.
fighting to the death.
Fisting
And he
each
Yeah.
ends
other.
up killing me. Fisting each
No. No.
Cut that.
No. It's in now.
Leave that in.
It's in, keep it in. But yeah, it's just, the context of like when you realize the stakes and the emotions that are
Mhm.
actually playing in that moment of these guys who are basically brothers who are beating each other to death
Mhm.
over the shit over the mysterious sword.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then you obviously die from that, right? And you got to make your way back. But everyone
Oh
is
god.
already
Up the tree.
up the tree
hmm
Mhm.
by the time you get back. But was it just whoever gets up there first gets the axe, or was it scripted for AJ to get it?
It was, I think it was scripted for Age to get it, wasn't it?
I think it was
Okay.
between two people, to be completely honest. And
Who
then
was
it
the
was
other person? May I
whoever
ask?
the backup was who was going up. I don't remember, but
I
it
think it was
was
Everett,
like
was it?
it
Evra was
very
up
well
there with
might
them.
have been.
Ah.
It was a case that whoever gets up there first, just roll with it. Because we needed a backup body in case someone fell.
Mhm.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was scripted that like at the end of all things, regardless of who picks it up, AJ would be the one to have the axe for whatever reason. Like say Everil got it first, he would have improvised it a bit to say, I don't want this. I was just killed by the sword to get this away from me, type of
Mhm.
thing. Or, if someone else was up there as well with them, then they drop it or they surrender it.
hmm
But yeah, like we needed
Mhm.
extra bodies to get up there. It didn't matter that AJ got down first. I think he was always supposed to get it.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. But then when it comes to the shovel and the scythe,
Oh yeah, that was set in
Though
stone.
those were
yeah,
planned, yeah.
That
Everything was
was
Yeah.
planned.
non-negotiable.
But by
right.
that time, we started to get the swing of things, and we were like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, scripts, all scripted, canon deaths,
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
who's
many
getting
more
the
tools?
tool, yeah,
If you're
who's
getting the
streaming
tool,
it,
then
yeah.
you need to build like the trial beforehand, or at least
Mhm.
have a plan for it and tell someone. Um, yeah, that one was very much set in stone.
You'd
I think
actually be proud of me, Smith,
go on.
because originally the shovel and the scythe were going to be in two different streams,
Oh, but you
Oh.
made it
and
one.
then they got condensed into
Oh.
one.
Yeah. Yep.
Andrew's proud. Andrew's proud.
It's a running trend.
Take a look at
For
it.
because they've happened a while ago now, actually.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
Battle for New Sound City and even the tournament that just happened, you wanted 4 parts for the tournament
Mhm.
I
and
did.
2 parts for the Battle of New Sound City.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I just came to you going, "You're an
No.
idiot." Because you're gonna have 2
Absolutely
half
not.
streams and then like one the first tournament stream would have just been us meeting in the plaza and talking about it. And it was
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
why does that need to be its own thing? So I appreciate that, Luke. That's very good that you did
Mhm.
that. Now, you were saying that you got really professional about everything and well, not really professional,
We
but
were getting into the swing of
Getting
things.
to
Like we
the
knew
swing
yeah,
what
of
we
Yeah.
things,
wanted
yeah.
to do.
We were
in
getting closer to
the
what we are today.
in the stream,
Here we
Luke
go.
mentions that the Woodland Mansion raid was ages ago.
Mhm.
But I think it's interesting watching it in the condensed lore video because it's like 20 minutes
Yeah.
beforehand is when it
Yeah.
happens. What was the actual time difference between that one and the shovel in the
Yeah.
scythe? Because it must have been months, right?
It was definitely months. Yeah, it
Right.
was
But
very
there's
long. 'Cause
only it's the third stream, or
we
it's the
Yeah.
fourth
didn't
stream.
we didn't schedule anything at the time. Again, another great thing
Well,
Smith does.
sorry, we
Um,
tried.
yeah.
We tried, and some people got no help. So
There was at one
I
point where I
I
said I
resent
wanted
that
us to
comment.
try do one lore stream a week, and then I think everyone collectively said, "Go fuck yourself."
Right.
Yes, like
Right.
you weren't even doing one lore stream a week.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is because I remember I pitched it as it's not just I have to do one lore stream a week or you have to do one. It's across the whole server, just a stream a week,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
and
then
which at the
yeah.
time for me seemed reasonable, but I got quite a bit of backlash for that one.
Everybody
Right.
was in college or working nights, and we'd just come out of a pandemic. So
Mm.
yeah, you got pushed back for that one.
Okay,
That's
that's
And
fair.
who was
fair.
So
building these sets? No one at that stage.
Yeah.
do we
It's okay,
have?
it
We
was a
probably
little
should have
while.
looked at the date on the VOD for when it happened, but obviously the the Jorge plot started in, or like the first stream anyway, was the 23rd of December, right?
That was day
So
one, yeah.
yeah, so it's probably, you probably can't remember, but like what is the rough timeline? Like how many months between the Jorge plot to the Woodland Mansion raid
Would you
I seem
and
to
then to the
guesstimate?
remember
shovel in the
Oh
scythe?
god.
I seem to
I
Like
remember
actually,
the
you know what?
Woodland
ballpark.
Mansion being in February.
I can actually give you the dates
Okay.
of the streams up to the
Oh, yeah?
mysterious the Woodland Mansion raid,
Oh
because
shit.
that stream was the first one I posted on YouTube.
Yeah, but did you post
Um,
the same day?
Mhm.
I at least posted it around the same time. I believe
Fair
it was
enough.
the same day. Um,
Oh yeah, because you were complaining about the upload thing to YouTube, because then your internet would crash.
yep. Now I've discovered that you can just upload straight from Twitch. It's very handy. The stream, the Woodland Mansion raid, was uploaded on YouTube on. Oh wait, no, I actually have the upload date and the stream date on here. God, I was so well prepared. The Woodland Mansion raid was on the 6th of March, 2021.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Jesus. Yeah.
the question then is, when was the Jorge plot? Who knows?
No.
Don't worry
Then
about
do
that
you
one.
have
Just do the
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 shovel in the
notes.
scythe?
Oh
resistance and the
yes,
shovel and the scythe. Yeah.
and then the shovel and the scythe one.
Uh,
So remember that. What was that? March 6th.
March
mhm.
6th, yeah.
Turn of the Valley, Jorge plot. Oh, I think I don't really skip over that. No, Battle for the Axe. I am so lost. Did I did skip over it.
Well done.
No, that was the fault of everyone. It was well back.
So this is what we were working with when it came to scheduling and getting
Yeah.
things planned.
Am I missing videos? Oh, I'm sorting by
No,
popular. That's why.
but it's called going to look for the tools. It was put on the 15th of May
Fucking hell.
is when that was streamed, the shovel and the
15th
scythe.
of May.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
March
So there's
and
about
May.
And
2 months.
so
Mhm.
stream oh yes, I remember, because there was a joke that it was, oh, we're doing a stream a month. We'll be done this within the decade.
Oh
Yeah.
god. Ah,
That's
but look
not
at us now.
awful. It's not awful.
Considering how
No.
big of a cast there was,
Yeah.
and
It would
we
be
didn't
hard.
have that many cameras, and we did have to work with Everill's schedule as well, because he was also the streamer.
Mhm.
Quite
Yeah.
often, like it was a case that Luke would stream his point of view, and then Everil would be the one to capture the resistance.
Right.
So we really did have to work with him as well for that, and obviously time zones being a bitch.
Mhm.
Um,
And
so
those
not the worst,
VODs.
it's not the best.
Yeah. And are Everill's VODs in the void at the moment?
I don't know. They
That is a
might be.
good question. I remember back then, I wasn't strict on everyone saving their VODs.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know.
As we are now, and now we have a full playlist of all the VODs, which everyone watching this should go check out the playlist if you haven't already.
No, actually, that's a good point. That these condensed lore videos will be coming out monthly, but you can just go and watch everything
Now.
as it was streamed if you
Yeah.
want.
The raw footage, if you will.
Raw
Yeah,
data.
Yeah.
the condensed lore videos are just to make it more digestible, I
Like,
guess.
Yeah, the A plot more digestible for everybody.
Yeah.
I think one of the saddest things about the streams that are lost to time, or the VODs lost to time, is the whole witches plot. The witches backstory.
It's
That one's
in the
lost, is
works.
it?
It's in the
That's gone.
works.
Is it remaking? Is it?
Yeah, I have it. I have the
Oh,
prereq.
that one. Oh, right.
Yeah, I have the prereq done. It was a trilogy. The first one was saved. The second and third one was not. So we've re-recorded the second one. And unfortunately, every time we go to record, something bad happens and we can't record. So we will get it done. But
get it done.
But
I
yeah,
can't wait.
we'll get it done, and then I'll re-upload it as a condensed trilogy onto the Dunn SMP, and then we'll do an episode and we can talk about it as well.
Yeah.
Something that I love every time I see it in the video, I absolutely love it, is Luke and Everil talking, and
With the
Luke's like,
casual.
oh yeah, just casual talking, and like, oh, what are you doing out here in the desert and stuff, and blah blah blah. And Luke says, oh, I had this like village on another server. I was thinking of rebuilding it, and they're stood beside New Sand City, or what becomes New Sand City.
Yeah.
And watching the VOD back, I'm looking at this wasteland of, it's just
Of the
sand.
desert.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it going, well, this is over there and this is there, and like I can see the shape of it.
Yeah.
Which is so, I think it's so cool. That it was obviously planned to do that. Like, was the plan for Everil to blow up your house? Spoilers for the future condensed lore videos, I guess. The plan was for Everil to blow up your house, or was it just to build something out there?
Again, the whole thing we actually had as our rules of the server is no griefing. That was actually our first rule that we had as it first obviously started as just a Minecraft server.
Yeah.
And so any kind of griefing that was done was scripted. That was something. So like my house getting destroyed was in the script. That was something where I said, okay, after Everil gets the tools and he's after revenge, he's gonna blow up my house and I'm gonna run off into the desert and I'm gonna start my village. That was the plan. Which was so funny because I was planning on like slowly over time building this village. And slowly over time, like I started with my house. Me and Key even joined me on that stream where I moved out of the desert and I built my first house. And then I remember coming onto the server the next day, and I didn't know it. I came onto the server the next day, and Kevin and Leon didn't go to bed that night. They built a city. They built New Sand City in a night.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair, we didn't do like the underground bits or most of the decoration, but
you built a city in an afternoon.
There's a freaking crane, man.
That's for a different recap video.
Oh my god.
Oh god. That'll be in the future recap videos.
Yeah, it's good. You mentioned it with Everil and it was foresight and you were seeing it all play out in 60 chests. I'm so sorry.
But yes, the idea of building a desert village and all was planned from back then. And that is because I remember, again, all of it comes from little bits of inspiration. It's because I used to play on a survival Minecraft server as a kid.
Right.
And it was back in the old day. It was basically an old YouTuber server. Well, I don't even think they make content anymore, but it was a very small YouTuber at the time who hosted a public server that I played on with like 8 odd other people. and I built a small house in the desert, and I invited random people from Spawn to join me, and essentially I came on one evening, and like the SMP, I came on one evening, and there was just this road that came where my house was at the end of the
Oh.
road, and it was a one long road that came out from the front of my house, and there was buildings built on either side all the way along the road. So it was this street of
Wow.
all these other people's houses. They all just moved in. And we built this village in the
See, it
desert.
was foretold.
Hmm.
And yeah, you mentioned that you were like the mayor of a little town in the desert,
That's what it was. Yeah,
and you wanted to pay homage to it, as you said in the VOD.
I became the mayor.
The trial for the shovel
Oh
was
my
probably
god.
the worst one. To like, it seemed like the worst one. I would not want to do it. Why were there so many husks?
God, it was
What
so
happened?
much.
So I
Ah.
realized in retrospect after these streams came out, I think it was actually you, Smith, who pointed out to me as you were starting these condensed lore videos, is
Mhm.
we don't actually see the inside of the dungeons that much.
No.
Yeah,
Because
they're full
I was the one
elaborate builds.
I designed the dungeons. I went on and I built them. Okay, sorry, I didn't build all of them. I remember the shovel
There we go.
one I designed. I designed the shovel one where essentially the idea was you would go down. I remember going on with a bunch of TNT, and I just started digging out these caves and filling it with spawners for husks, and I built the meteorite down the end. And the whole idea was that it was going to be this fun trial that everyone gets to go on, and everyone gets to fight their way through and get the shovel. And obviously the script set out the way it did, where they would go down and I'd trap them inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it, even in writing the script, it never occurred to me the fact that I'm the only one streaming it. And since I don't go in and I just blow up the door, no one would actually, no viewer would see the inside of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And through the entire process of building it, script writing it, doing it, it never even occurred to me until afterwards. And you was like, the viewers never actually get to see it.
Again, I
Yeah.
think everyone was recording it, but not streaming that one.
Mm.
I think.
Right.
Right.
But why were there so many husks?
There
There
was
was like
so
hundreds.
many.
That
It
is
was
just me not knowing quite how much I was placing. I just put down spawners
Mhm.
everywhere.
Right.
It was worse
Right.
than like the Battle of New Sun City.
Oh
Like
my
there was
gosh.
so much. Well, it was probably as bad actually, but there was a lot.
To be honest, with the Battle of New Sun City, or even with the Spires trial in the tournament, when people were like, "There's double the amount of husks and there's double the amount of monsters,"
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, "This is nothing compared to this is fine. What are you complaining about?
The Dunn SMP boomers saying, "You kids don't know what we dealt
You
with back in the
don't know
day."
what a lot of monsters are."
But was you going in and helping them? That wasn't scripted, was it?
That was not scripted. No,
No.
Because
that
that
was
gives a
that
little
was
bit of insight into what's
yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
That basically was their struggle. I'm pretty
Realizing.
sure someone DM'd me. Someone messaged me saying, "We can't do this. We can't get to the
Right.
shovel."
Right.
And I said, "Okay, they need the mysterious sword."
Right.
Okay.
That's interesting to know.
Mm.
Okay.
He played it off well, though.
No, he
Yeah, no,
did.
well, we weren't, I've been watching these videos, sitting there going, I don't know what's scripted and what's not.
Yeah.
It all
Mm.
feels like the streams are rough around the edges,
Yeah.
it took a while to kind of
Get in the
hone
groove
in
of it.
on what
Yeah.
makes them good, right?
Mm.
But there is definitely
A charm.
something there.
Yeah.
There's a charm and they feel real and natural, which I think
Mhm.
is like it's really cool. Even me being a part of it and seeing how it all happens now. But like looking at the old ones going, I don't know what was written down beforehand and what is like happening on the spot.
Mhm.
I think I
So I
actually
think
know
it's
the
very
answer as to
impressive.
why that is because
Go on.
so much of it was improv.
Mhm.
So it
Well, yeah,
was
there
Yeah.
wasn't
much
much
more
written.
natural.
Yeah.
We did have scripts and such, but so often did the whole plan go sideways and we had to improv something. which is why it actually was a lot more genuine in the way that it was on the spot,
Mhm.
But I think
because
it's just
it was so much more improv than our typical ones now, which are heavily scripted.
it's just
Yeah.
interesting because I think you said it on Stelt's podcast,
Hmm.
um, that like you never did anything like this before,
Mm.
like arts or anything like that. Like,
No, yeah, I never did it.
but even like and then everybody else, like none of them were streamers. It's not like they knew kind of how to be in front of cameras. Now, I'll be the first to say there's some bad acting from some people. I won't name names, but there's some bad acting from some people that might not be around anymore. But some people had really good, like, I believed them when watching, you know?
Yeah.
It was very impressive, even though nobody really has that background.
In
Yeah.
acting and the arts and everything. No, it was good. A lot of the improv was good.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it was a lot of people's first experience with any kind of acting like that.
Mhm.
I think I know the answer to this because uh Everill's book is mentioned, and then you don't pick up on it, and they kind of
Have to
dance
say
around
it.
it for a little bit, like say it a
Yeah.
few times, and then you pick up on them saying it, and you go, "What
Yeah.
book?" Um, was that? Did you just miss your cue, or was that not scripted, or
That was probably just me missing my cue.
You
Yeah.
missed it
right?
It
completely,
seemed
and I
like it.
remember sitting there, face was beat red, going, Luke, Luke.
Oh god.
There was
Yeah.
other stuff happening.
No, but that was when you went down into the dungeon for the shovel and you were trying to help them. But I find it interesting how you're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna barricade them in." But as you're leaving, you play it off by saying you don't want to kill these people. You don't want to kill them. You said it earlier in the VOD as well. You said, I don't want to kill them. It's just they are making it hard for me and they're getting in my way. I
Mhm.
don't want to do this. So then you later on go down into the dungeon with them and kill all the husks for them, and then you barricade them in. But as you're leaving, you're like, see, I don't want them to die. I'm helping them, but I need the tools. I need them.
It that actually was part of the script of it. That was part of what I was writing for my character. My whole character's motivation during that arc was to he basically saw the tools as something that were unnatural and were going to cause wars. People will
Right.
fight wars over these tools.
Uh-huh.
So what I have to do is gather them all up and destroy them. That was his motivation, is gather all the tools and destroy them. And if people die along the way and people get in his way, it's for the greater good. They all need to get destroyed.
The greater good.
And so his whole motivation was, I don't want to kill anyone, but sometimes I'll have to make sure that this gets put in the right place.
Okay.
There is also the internal conflict of the fact that he did enjoy killing them every now and again. He did find it fun, and he did get carried away, despite it
I
not
see.
being in when he was in his right mind, despite it not being what he wanted to do. He did get carried away quite a bit.
Well,
Yeah.
I think a really interesting thing, and it is kind of, I did edit it out of the video, but I do think it's interesting is that when you're killing Ethan
Mm-hmm.
in the Scythe Temple, you give him a golden apple
Mhm.
to prolong it,
Mm.
which is you're clearly enjoying what's happening. And
Mhm.
I love when you have, especially like when you're like playing the villain, but also not wanting to say anything, like especially when you find the sword in the meteorite, your webcam is like an insight into what's happening in your character's head.
Mhm.
Of like they walk in and you're like, oh, there's nothing here. It's just a stupid rock. And on your camera, you're just fucking smiling away. And
Yeah.
like you're in your inventory reading everything, and you're like, oh my god, with your hand on your mouth, like, oh my god, like it's just. But then somebody says something to you, and you're so like casual about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very
It
nonchalant.
it's just interesting of like that, even like on stream for the viewer, they're getting a different
Experience.
experience than the people literally stood in front of you, a part of the stream.
Mm-hmm.
It really plays it into the you don't know, these people as well as you think you do. Like, it was really like the way that Luke
Mm-hmm.
played Dunn in the early days was just the no, you don't know people. Like, you think you
Mm-hmm.
do, but you don't, because they can lie straight to your face. So I think it's interesting that you bring up, like, specifically the webcam with that one.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
enjoy seeing Luke's reactions where other people can't.
Mm.
Because it's I'm gonna bring up when you were stood behind Chris. You pull out the sword and he's just standing there grinning, and nobody has any idea that this is happening. But we're sitting there going, "Fuck, he's gonna kill Chris. He's gonna kill him." But you don't, which I find interesting. I found it interesting. I think somebody starts talking to you and you put it away
Mm-hmm.
so that they don't see it before you kill Leon.
Yeah. If
'cause
I
you.
remember right, the as I said, the way I'd kind of done it,
Mhm.
and the inspiration I was kind of taking was that with any kind of character's inner conflict, they will go back and forth all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so his back and forth was he doesn't want to kill people. He just wants to get rid of the tools, and people he might have to kill people along the way. But the other side of that was that he does get carried away quite a bit. So there was
Yeah.
moments of, oh, I could kill Chris right now. No, I shouldn't. I can't. No, that's not what I'm doing. And it was a genuine thing of me being like, oh, I could kill him. No, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I'm trying to do. Oh, but I could. Though. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. And that was like, that really was the real kind of internal struggle that the
Mm-hmm.
character was going throughout the
My
entirety of that arc.
Yeah, one of my questions are as well as how much of it was just your character having conflicting thoughts and how much of it was like the sword's influence, because in later streams we find out
Ooh.
that the tools have like, I'm not going to say the voices, but they have like quite,
Personalities.
yeah, they have a personality and they do have influence over their wielders. So how much of you getting carried away was you and how much of it was the sword?
Well, I'll open up and I'll be a bit honest with the fact that that was two different ideas of what we wanted the tools to do.
Right.
Where I believe wasn't it Everil who started hearing voices of the tools, and Kevin
Yeah.
you heard voices as well.
Yeah. So
I
Everil
personally,
set the precedent that it is a voice that can be in your head, but I think you played it as like a
it's just me.
background influence. Yeah, it's like the
Mm.
sword for you
It's
just heightened what was already there.
Okay.
Whereas for a character like Everil or Kev, it was a direct do this, we want you to do this. Whereas with Luke, like the sword was playing off of who he is as a person.
I
see. Here's the thing. I disagree,
Okay.
which is the fun part of this. I disagree because I remember when it came down to it, I didn't want there to be some mystical kind of control that's been put
Mm.
over the character. I
Mm.
wanted all the choices he's making to be his own.
Yes.
That he's
Mhm.
choosing to make these kills and all that. He's choosing to do this. There's no voice in
Mm.
his head.
Mm.
And that I wrote it with him being the tools as this is literally just him getting carried away. It's he
Mhm.
has something powerful in his hands and he's giddy and he's getting carried away with it.
Mm.
Okay.
Despite that, I wasn't opposed to other people playing up the idea that there's
Mm.
voices or there's some sort of supernatural control being put onto them or there's some voices. And I remember, I don't think it's ever actually been put into a script, but the headcanon that I came up with it was that the reason why I never heard any voices is because I'm the operator.
Oh yes, I
That
remember.
the
Oh.
operators were the ones who
You're
used these tools in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mhm.
right.
anyone who wasn't an operator tried to use them, they would go mad.
Yeah,
Ah, see,
that's right. I
That's
remember that
good.
now.
I like that idea a lot because in what I've just been trying to figure out while you were talking is that if Everil and Kevin were hearing voices and Atlas and her like population in the village were
Mhm.
hearing voices, these are all magic wielders.
Mhm.
So is it something to do with having like magical abilities? But I like that idea
It's
that it
very
was because they weren't operators. I like
mm,
that a lot.
it very well could be because again, like the way that people play it is up to them, you know. It's
Mhm.
like when Ethan had the bow, he said that, you know, oh no, I don't hear it, and like the bow's fine, it's docile, it
Mhm.
doesn't like it's fine, just helps with killing stuff, you know, and that
Mm.
was an interaction that Ethan and Kev had, but
Mhm.
Everil was eavesdropping on, and he was like, Ethan doesn't hear anything. How does Ethan not
Right.
hear? Like what?
I think it would be interesting if the two tools that don't speak are the ones that are used for killing.
Mm,
You know, of like the here's an Attack on Titan reference. You know the way like Armin's Colossal Titan doesn't have ears
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to hear the screams. It's like that same kind of
It's
they
your
don't have a voice
decision to
because they're
do
just
this.
going straight in and killing or something
Yeah.
like that. Like whereas the other ones are kind of more
yeah.
talkative to kind of because you'd have to like if you're trying to kill someone with a pickaxe, there's got to be like a plan around it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just go in swinging.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thing is, as I say, you can kind of take it any way because this was never actually canonized in the script.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Um,
That's what's fun about it as well is that a lot
Yeah.
of I feel like stuff is said
Make
in
room
the
for theories.
dungeon, which if you're not in it already, you should join it. It's the public Discord server. Stuff is said in the dungeon by people, and we just go, "Oh yeah, I like
Ooh.
that," and that's really cool.
I'll have
Yeah.
that one now.
That's better than whatever I was planning, and then
Gimme,
Shout
it
gimme.
shout
actually
out
affects
shout
what
out to
happens.
Salamina for that because in the
Yeah,
early days when she would put in a theory, it was like we didn't think about that. Write that down. Write that down.
yeah. It's like we do read like everything,
Theories.
Oh,
Mm.
and
we
we
read
take it into account. Like,
yeah, we read through the Discord thoroughly.
With a
Mhm.
fine tooth lice
Like
comb.
yeah.
every channel we will read through.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if
Even if
it's
it's
spam,
stupid.
if it's stupid, we will see it. So watch your
Hmm.
backs. But we'll also see all your fun art and your
Yes.
theories, and we love seeing everybody discussing what they think's gonna happen or what just happened and
I
seeing
love it
everybody
when
creating stuff.
people's theories are the correct ones. And it's
Oh
like,
god.
Yeah,
Oh
don't
you
god.
tell
know,
them that. Don't tell them.
like with no. What I was referencing to was Everil sort of like this like going into a little bit more with like the book.
uh,
Like someone flagged, oh God, Everil is not taking a back seat with the resistance, but he's being vocal and he has a lot of control over what the resistance
mhm.
does. What happens if he betrays them? And someone clocked that and it was like, oh,
Uh-oh.
buddy.
But yeah, it just happened with our like title
with
announce as well in the tournament. Like
with Ethan.
yeah, there was multiple
Mm.
people going, I think the villain of this arc is Ethan. And all of us are going,
Yeah.
no.
Uh-oh.
And it
Why
Well,
was,
did you
but
think that? Because
like
he's foreshadowing stuff now. Why did
yeah.
you think that?
Because
no,
we were
exactly. It's
foreshadowing things.
like
Mhm.
it's all there
Yeah.
Mm,
for the viewer to find. Like
mhm.
we'll hint at stuff that's upcoming, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to put in a reference to something or give
Yeah.
like just a little like a wink to the camera,
Mm.
and then see if anyone picks up on it or not.
Especially
Mhm.
when something like Smith, like you're going back and you're re-watching the VODs and you realize, oh,
This
this
is
is where Sun
yeah.
Valley's going.
Yeah,
And
or
Luke said
the
this ages ago.
city. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not yeah, New Sun City, sorry. And it's like that was said. How long was this being planned? And it
Hmm.
just fits together like a lovely
Yeah.
puzzle.
I
It's like
think
magic.
something that doesn't quite fit together
Mm.
is Luke trapping
Oh
everybody
gosh.
in the shovel trial and then going to the temple and spending 20 to 30 minutes not being able to find, obviously script wise he's not meant to find his way in, but he slowed down the people that were going to open the door for him.
Well, Luke didn't know where I put the map or the key. If that
Oh.
helps, Luke didn't know where I put stuff.
Yeah, but no, I
So
presume like that he definitely wasn't meant to get in there first.
no.
But I think it's just funny that obviously like in character
Mm.
you would want to stop them and you're confident that you're going to be able to find your way in and stuff, you know.
Mm.
But like from a script writing standpoint, it's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to find my way in. These people then come in and do it and
Yeah.
they get
Well,
in, but I'm going to slow them down.
we saw it as sort of like when we were doing the lore debrief afterwards, it was kind of like okay, Luke helped us with the um shovel dungeon,
Mhm.
so we inadvertently helped him get through the scythe.
Yeah.
And we
And
both
then spawned
stopped
a
each
wither in
other.
front of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we both stopped each other when that happened. Was the wither actually scripted now that I think about it? I think it was.
I think it was,
I think
yeah.
it was because it was Chris that placed it, and
It
his whole
was
thing was
a
withers.
it was a room that had no it had one entry point. Like,
Yeah.
Yes,
and
it was no,
Luke
it was
immediately
scripted.
ran to the other side of the room. Like,
Okay.
it felt kind of set up in a
Mhm.
Okay.
good
Okay. Okay.
it was natural enough, but like
Mm.
I definitely could tell that it was set up for that moment.
Yeah. No, I know
Mhm.
Mm.
that something was happening in that whole room. But I just don't remember if it was specifically the wither. But yeah, evidently it was.
And Luke fucking he tore that thing apart.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was
That
quick.
was
Sometimes I
that
miss
was
that
a
mysterious sword, you
real
know.
Yes.
that was a real eye opener.
Of how
Um
powerful it was.
exactly, like even
Mhm.
for, Luke, because we hadn't actually tested the tools
Mm,
on something like a wither before.
Mhm.
Like this is like a final boss of Minecraft. We're not just gonna go around spawning these things in.
yeah.
And then we realize oh shoot, this can actually, okay, well, some of these tools have looting on them. Can we make a wither farm?
Oh god.
That just led down a whole, oh no, we're getting dangerous with this thing.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Um and at the end of the episode,
Mm,
before you kill Ethan, you say, and I quote, your sacrifice will do good in the sword.
Hmm.
mm,
Now, I don't think we've talked about a specific trait of the sword. Was that correct me if I'm wrong, but every it every cannon death or was it just every kill with it?
Every canon death was the whole idea was that every canon death was powering up the sword. Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
so it
So
would
make it
go up an
stronger.
enchantment level.
yeah.
Whoa.
that's why Leon went mad. That's why Kev lost her color. It's literally taking a piece of you with it.
To make
My
itself
character was
stronger.
saying that
Mm-hmm.
he may need the sword to be stronger to complete his mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah,
when it came down
Mm.
so
to he might have to kill people, actually might have to kill people to have the power to complete the mission and get rid of all the tools.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a an interesting kind of way of looking at it like, oh, I'm going to need to be powerful to protect everybody, but to get
To
to
do
that point
that,
I have to kill people.
something about
Hmm.
Mhm.
omelets and cracking a few eggs.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting kind of character arc to look at.
Mm,
Which it's interesting thinking about it in retrospect of the fact that my character was the operator and he had powers, but
mm,
Mm,
he needed to use it via the sword. He couldn't use it via commands.
mm,
And
yeah.
again, it comes down to his whole rule of using commands isn't fair. It
Mhm.
needs to be fair. You need to follow the rules, and the rules are that everyone is on a level playing field.
Yeah.
And the mysterious tools kind of throw that out of whack.
mm-hmm.
And so, if we want to get rid of the tools, I have to do it legit.
Right.
Can't
Yeah.
just go into creative and just delete them or
Unlike our newest villain.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Who
Well,
can
hey,
now?
hold on. You did it as well. Battle of New Sound City.
I did. That
There's
was such
video
a big
footage.
moment.
Caught
Yeah.
4K.
That was such because
That's going to be
I
a
think
really fun one to talk about.
Yeah.
yeah.
When we get around to it.
We'll have to have Jake on that one as well, because
Mhm.
talking about his monologue just
Oh, stop.
was a great monologue.
There's more to come. More to come.
More to
Time
come.
and time again, I have been so shocked with what our antagonists have just pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Done
even
fantastic.
just this last stream that Ethan was in, like my own stream, him just sitting there going, because we were theorizing why he was killing people and like he didn't have control, but he goes, no, I just can do it. I'm doing it because I can. And all of us are sitting there going, get out of my house, please. So
I
it's a
actually-
real night and day compared to how Luke played the antagonist and like how we've
Yeah.
seen the antagonist through the various chapters and how they either coped with power or the loss of power or how they chose to go about making their goals a reality.
I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm gonna add to that and say I love the fact that our call it 4 antagonists, including me, have all had different motivations in the way that I was an ends justify the means. Everil was for revenge. Jake was for power or money. And Ethan is
We
now
don't
for
have yet.
just well, I'm gonna
Chaos.
say Ethan's is just for chaos.
Yeah.
And now why is that is going to be explained at some point, but I don't want to give that away yet.
Do not spoil that.
That is
as
part
as
Ethan's
you've said
motivation is going to
yourself,
be brought
it's
up.
been 3 years in the works. Don't
Yeah.
spoil.
I don't want to talk about the later ones too much because then we're taken away from our
Yeah.
podcast episodes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I fear that somebody finds the condensed lore video and then watches this, and we're kind of talking about later stuff. If that's
Yeah.
you,
Sorry.
go watch all the other stuff and get caught up. You have Christmas break to do it.
Come back.
Actually, wait. Oh, because I've been having a feeling that this is live, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to talk about things that are about to happen. But Kevin,
Oh.
you're dead.
Yeah.
This comes out.
You
this
just
will come
died.
out on
Oh shit, yeah.
the 23rd. You just died.
Oh shit, yeah.
How do you
Last
feel?
the week before
How do
you
you
just
feel?
died. How do you feel after dying?
I'm shaking, I'm crying, I'm throwing up. I'm actually looking at my script notebook
No.
right there going, that's all I'll ever write. That's done. I finalized everything the other day. I condensed it
gosh.
down from where, because it was lengthy, but I condensed it down to, okay, I need to say this, and this, and the rest is unspoken.
Oh.
So there's a whole
Oh, I'm gonna
script
get
that
upset.
people
I'm
will never
upset now.
see.
I'm upset now.
So this should be out on the 23rd.
Great.
Yes.
Context,
So
we're recording this well before then.
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
happy Christmas,
Happy Christmas.
to everybody watching.
Mhm.
What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we're on the Christmas break at the moment.
Mhm.
We're coming back in the new year, and obviously Kevin just died. The first stream back, happy to announce it'll be her will.
And
so
her funeral.
that's going to be
Yeah.
the will reading and the funeral. So very emotional stream coming up. But I think that's everything for this one, right?
Yeah.
Did you have
It
any other
is.
questions for the two people that we've been attacking for the past hour and 25 minutes?
I have I don't have any more. But did you have anything else that you wanted to add, the both of you, to the viewers, or?
No, the only thing that I'll say is something that was said a while ago just on the Scythe Temple. I think it was said by you, Atlas. It's the only one where there's a note left.
Oh, I do mention that. Yeah, it is the
Yeah.
only. Actually, there's
The only
one
one with
more where
actual-
in the Conqueror's Spire, which is
that's right.
where the lighter
on the
is
shield.
found, there is a note left, which we'll discuss in a future episode, I suppose.
Forgot about that one, and I forgot my actual written reason why there's only those
Yeah.
two. You reminded me there. But yeah. Luke, anything?
Anything, Tad?
Do you apologize?
For
No,
killing
never.
everybody? You apologize. You should be.
Kill
Um,
people
I'm just glad everyone's enjoyed everything so far.
and kill more people.
yeah, well, I was gonna say that we got yourselves on because obviously Luke is the founder and Kevin was big on the writing team and stuff. You're both
Yeah.
big parts of
Was?
the people that are
Oh.
left.
No.
was is the big word. Um, you know, so I
No.
think
Thank
it
you.
only made sense to have you guys on
Yeah.
first. You know, to
Aw.
discuss it.
Thanks.
So thanks for
Ooh, here's
starting it. I
here's a
guess.
question actually before we go. If you want
Okay.
to
Yeah, go
tease
on.
this
Yeah.
out for anyone,
Mhm.
who are we having on next time,
Ooh.
or do we know?
I need to finish editing the video and then we'll base it on that.
Nice.
Luke, potentially you,
Probably
because
Luke.
Yeah.
you're the main camera of all of these, so it kind of
I'll
makes
take it.
sense for you to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Kevin as well.
Yeah, probably
I'm to be
Kevin.
honest.
Probably.
We'll
I am
see if
ready.
there's any character that stands out that
That
kind
we
of
think needs to be in.
has a piece. But I'm still editing the video. Maybe Everil. I mean, he's got a big
That's
speech.
true.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good speech. To be honest, in the edit, I've just left all 10 minutes of the speech in.
Oh
Hell
wow.
yeah.
It's all good. Like it's so
Mhm.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Sure thing.
Perfect.
Right, well,
Alright,
Good.
Kevin,
thanks for
I'm
having us.
looking forward to seeing you next time again.
See you on the flip side. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you both very much for letting us pick your brain for quite a while
Oh,
Thanks for
there.
having us.
And
anytime.
I hope everybody enjoyed the first episode of the lore breakdown. There will be more to come in
Hell
the
yeah.
next month. There should be another episode uploaded along with another condensed
If
lore
I-
video.
If I sit down and edit it.
Okay, well,
Looking forward to it.
all right, perfect. Thank you.
Alrighty, so. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.